Hello, BookTube.
Continue.
A little bit of an awkward start here. I'm here with my old friend Deb.
Hi, BookTube.
Manatee Mondays. Sorry about this. Baby, we're filming now. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Oh.
So probably in a few minutes, my dog is going to go crazy barking, but my housemate's taking him for a walk, so it's not going to last too long, just in the amount of time she is taking him out of the apartment. So.
Well, I should apologize to our YouTube viewers for starting off the video that way, but they already know the ladies love me.
It's hard to resist. Yeah. It's hard to resist that neck.
So we're back for Manatee Mondays. It's been forever.
Yes.
You've been gone. I've tried to explain to my viewers, you've been up in bear-haunted Vermont with no walls, no masonry, no electricity, no emails, no Wi-Fi, no Zoom, no nothing. Up in the white ethno-state of Maine. Yes.
I've been in Maine at my mom's, and she has no internet. We kind of live, you know, we go out and shoot our own bear and whatnot.
But you're back now.
But I'm back now.
Your book crowded apartment.
Yes, it's overwhelmingly crowded with books. And it's so funny because the few books I took home, I took like I would say a couple of tote bags worth of books, like, you know, those Barnes and Noble tote bags we have for the summer reading. And my mother was just like overwhelmed with the number of books that I took home. And I think, oh my God, if she saw my apartment, I don't know what she'd think.
I am decluttering books at the moment.
I need to do some of that, yes.
I've got a sale pile going to the Brattle that I'm just adding to regularly. Because I reached a point too where there's just, for me, I don't know about for you, but for me, the line is when I run out of room and the books have to go on the floor.
Okay, I've passed that long ago.
Yes, yes, I seem to remember it. You passed that long ago. For me, that's the Maginot line. If the most convenient thing for me is to put books on the floor, then a lot of books have to go. So I'm at that point. So I'm dealing with that now.
Well, I'm at the point where I really have to be honest with myself and really harsh on myself and say, is this something really? Am I going to read this really? Because most of the books I have in my apartment are books that I have not read. They're not ones that I've read and love. They're ones that I acquired somewhere down the line. I haven't read them. I still have interest in a lot of them. I still want to read a lot of them. But then there are ones that, I don't know, maybe they were, you know, review copies that I picked up on the break table at Barnes and Noble that are just not, yeah, I kind of was curious about them at the time, but going back, looking at them now, I'm like, I'm never going to read that.
There are a lot of books that you have that fit that description. A lot.
I'm sure there are, but there are a lot of books that you would say go in that pile, that should go in the pile of get rid of this now, that I still really want to read. And that's the battle I have with myself. Is
if you have books, and you know you do, that are still in their plastic bag.
Yes.
You didn't even bother to remove them from the plastic bag. You have books like that going back 20 years. It is safe to assume you are not interested enough to read the book if you're not interested enough to take it out of the bag. Those could go. You don't even need to look in the bag. You could just get rid of them.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not at that point. I'm at the point now where hopefully I can look at things and make a decision to get rid of even a percentage of, you know, just the ones that I know I'm never going to want to. I know I'm never going to read it. And if for some reason at some point in the future I change my mind, the library, it's going to be easy to find another copy. And that's what kills me. I wish I had known, you know, 30 years ago when I started working in books, 40 years ago, when I started working in bookstores, I wish I had known that technology was going to become what it is, and you'd have access to things once they went out of print.
I don't know that it would have changed anything for either of us.
It may
if
it
you're
may
going
not have.
surrounded by books all day long, who wouldn't be tempted?
It may not have. But I wish, I think it would have cut down a little bit on it, a
Now, what
tiny
about your
bit, maybe.
ebooks? Do you keep getting ebooks as well?
I have not bought an ebook in a very long time.
And why is
and
that?
that's it's because my Nook no longer shows them to me. I'm gonna have to go in and, like, you know, play with something. I'm running out of storage space, and it's it's updating things I don't care about on my Nook, but I'm afraid to delete because I go to delete it and it says, "Are you sure you want to delete this? It may affect the way your unit runs." And I don't know about technology to be able to say, "Yeah, I don't really need that."
Yeah,
That's not going to hurt.
Are full of horror stories about people that fiddled around with one update and lost their whole library. How many books do you have on your Nook?
A lot. I went through a stage where the $1.99 ebooks, I just ate them up. I didn't pay full price for very many of my ebooks. They were either free or they were like $1.99, $2.99. So very few of them were ones that I paid full price. I would say like maybe less than 5.
Oh, wow.
Of my
Out of
entire.
what I'm assuming is thousands.
It's a lot. It's multiple.
If you're running out of
hundreds.
space, if you're running out of storage on the device, do you have a very old book?
I have the Samsung Galaxy one.
Okay.
And I understand about the cloud. I understand about, so it's not like my Nook holds every single book that I've ever purchased, but it doesn't show me any of them anymore. And it doesn't allow me to connect to look at to see what I have purchased and really stored. Huh?
That's really bad.
Yeah. So mostly I've been using it to do overdrive from the library. That's what I've been using my Nook to.
Get a new Nook.
I could. I've got a bunch of the black and white ones. I've got 2 black and white ones, and maybe I should look at those. I have multiple generations of Nooks, but this was the newest one that had access to the internet that I have purchased. So that I have.
Well, shall we, so that we don't natter like 2 Donegal housewives?
Yes.
So we get to the program here.
Let's go to our subjects.
For those of you who are new to Manatee Mondays, we break it down into 3 categories: my aches and pains, my stories, and my books. Because we are the disreputable grandparents of BookTube that nobody talks about. So let's start off with my aches and pains. You go first. What's the ache and pain that's bothering you right now?
I am in pain from head to toe. The new thing that is particularly distracting, because I have the neuropathy left over from my chemo multiple years ago, and I have arthritis. So I hurt all the time. It comes and goes. Some days are really bad, some days are okay, but it's always there at some level. But the thing that's been getting me lately are my fingers. My mother has arthritis in her hands as well, and she's got those misshapen fingers at the, at this, where it goes sideways.
Oh yeah.
She's got a lot of that, and I think I will too, because I can feel this joint and this. I'm sorry, you can't see. This joint are already in a lot of pain, and my hands are stiff. And so I know that's going to be a problem. And what's particularly galling about it is I love doing cross stitch. And cross stitch, like with the needle sewing. It's kind of like embroidery, but it's a specific kind of.
So cross stitch is different from embroidery.
It is, because what you do is you make 2 separate threads that produce a cross on your fabric.
I
So
just got introduced to the YouTube world of knitting videos. I just had Hannah at Hannah's Books. Hannah
oh, I
just
knit
came
too.
here for a visit, and she
That
talked
would
about knitting.
it would hurt to knit as well. Yeah.
Okay, but when you say cross stitching, you're not talking about knitting. Those are two
No.
things.
Think of embroidery, and you'd
I don't know
be
how to
in the
think about
ballpark.
embroidery. Would I even know what I was looking at? I heard it.
It's in the ballpark of
I look at
embroidery.
these YouTube videos, and all I can think about is you. And what was the name of the place? Was it Boston Button?
Oh, what was that called?
It was a button shop.
It was a button shop.
You used to love going there.
Oh, I loved it. They sold yarn. They sold buttons. You could get any sort of button you were looking for. They had a big bin of miscellaneous buttons at the front for, like, you could just reach in and find a button that kind of matched what you were looking for.
Was it the Windsor Button Company?
Yes.
Is that what it was? Yes. Okay.
Yes,
right. They're probably long gone.
Shop.
But I've had flashbacks to that as I've dipped a small toe in the booktube community or the YouTube community devoted to knitting.
It was heartbreaking when it closed.
But speaking of heartbreaking, so are you looking at the possibility that you'll no longer be able to do this? Does it affect your mobility, or is it just pain?
It's pain. It's just pain.
It doesn't stop you. I mean, not to be Spartan or anything, but you could knit through the pain if you wanted to. It's not
to an extent. I can
mother couldn't do it, right? Once the fingers start going sideways, then you can't do it anymore.
No, my mother still does it.
Does she really?
Yeah, and she indicates she has less pain than she did earlier on, which is odd because I would think it would, when you bone rubbing against bone, I would think it would get worse as time went on. But she does it. She does knitting and craft stuff, and doesn't seem to affect her abilities to do it. She said this past summer it's been more difficult. She's had more trouble like putting the needle in the proper place than she has in the past. But I don't know if that's an eye issue or a hand issue or what. But I can do the cross stitch for, a short period of time and then put it aside. Like I can, handle the pain for a short period of time and then put it aside, and then my hands hurt like crazy for the rest of the day. And I just want to say this to all the people that have like chronic pain. People don't understand how chronic pain just exhausts you mentally. Like
it's not just the pain. It envelops your whole life.
Yeah. And so, people will say, oh, just keep just keep working through it. And it's like, yeah, you could do that if you hurt for one day, but when you hurt every single day, it wears away at you. So that's my ache.
Well, my aches and pains is not an ache or pain. But it is physical, and that's a complaint enough, I guess, for two old people to complain. I guess that's provocation enough. I had Sam over here 2 weeks ago for a visit, and I had Hannah from Hannah's Books over here this week for a visit. In both cases, we broke out the bubbly. In both cases, we broke out a bottle of red wine.
Mm-hmm. I know how much you love that.
Well, yes, and I was fine, but I felt it the next day. For the first time ever. I felt it the next day. Not a hangover, but tired. And I don't want that to be true. I don't want that to be true at all. I don't want to be the first Donahue in 50 generations that felt it the next day. And that's on my mind.
Yeah, do you think it was the alcohol, or was it just that you had people over and you were entertaining such as you do? And
I could have been. I don't really entertain when it comes to Sam, though. He's lucky I put pants on.
Well,
there wasn't much of a strain in that sense.
Right.
In both cases, it was murderously hot. But
I mean, like, were you up later? Were you like, did it affect your sleep schedule or anything like that?
Sleeping, I didn't feel sleepy at all. No, the night of, Like, for instance, when I was doing a little cleaning up when the night was over, I felt a little bit on the wobbly side, like it was affecting my equilibrium. And the next day I felt tired.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird for a smolderingly sexy 28-year-old. So I'm wondering what to do now. You know, the two
You can't
options
live like a 27-year-old anymore, Steve. You just can't.
Yes, I can. I have to. As far as I can tell, my two options are either to remove wine from those evenings, which is unthinkable.
And you had a similar amount of wine as you did in the
past. I had twice
past.
as much when Sam was here as I did when Hannah was here. The effect wasn't twice as bad, but there still was an effect, and there usually isn't.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was the wine, or maybe the food, or something. But
I am now questioning your Irish background
because
of that. And also, I sent you a picture of a potato plant I was growing, and you accused me of growing something that wasn't a potato. And I was like, Steve Donahue doesn't recognize potatoes.
Okay,
and now he tells me the thing about wine.
If it turns out that I don't have Irish heritage, can I pick my heritage? Can I pick a cool one? That'd be really great.
So what would you pick? What would you pick?
Greek.
Greek?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, or maybe Russian. One of the cool nationalities. Cool. Instead of shanty Irish, I would pick something cool.
I'd pick Scandinavian.
Oh, though, no offense, Mrs. D, but I don't think either one of us can pull off Scandinavian.
No, but if that was our heritage,
but if we
would be smoking hot. What?
But it wouldn't work if we started claiming Scandinavian heritage. People would say,
no, not claiming. If we actually were.
If we actually had it. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Science fiction-wise, yes, that would be. Very
nobody's going to believe it if we claimed it. No.
I don't think that many people would believe that we even sailed near Scandinavia. But I figure my options are either to A, cut out the wine at festive evenings, or B, start drinking a lot every night.
Build up your tolerance again?
Yeah.
It's a choice. It's a dilemma.
But anyway, those are my aches and pains. You're serious, I'm frivolous. Now we'll move on to my stories.
The stories.
Which is where we look at the world. What is a story that is sticking out to you today?
Now let me say, I'm going to preface this. Because I was in Maine without the internet, I missed out on a lot of news other than like the 3.5 minutes on the evening news on the television. So, and the whole Afghanistan thing, I don't understand the history there or the military presence there. So the military stuff, I don't understand at all. So my story is something I do understand. And I have 2 words for you, Steve. Horse dewormer. What is going on there?
It's like a section of the country has said, just now fervently, religiously believes, okay, we're willing to agree there's a virus. We're willing to agree it's dangerous, but we don't want to give the other side the win of using their free, completely effective medicine. We want to come up with a totally different way of dealing with this so that we don't offend God. God is listening. He's got a bad beef job in Florida, but he is listening to our thoughts. And we don't want him to think we're disloyal to him. That's what I thought at first. But then Trump went to one of his Klan rallies, told everybody got vaccinated, and got booed.
Yeah, I saw that.
A classic example of the brown shirts slipping out of the control. He tried. You'd think about if he weren't just a psychopathic narcissist, you could easily imagine a different path he would take. And that would have been the best way to take credit for Operation Warp Speed, which he initiated, would be to get people to get vaccinated. Yes. It'd be the best. It's the most natural narrative line in the world for him to go to his Klan rallies, say, yes, women are terrible. Yes, all brown people are terrible, but also get your vaccine because I made it.
Yeah, yeah.
300 million people in this country would be vaccinated overnight if he did that.
Take credit for it.
Instead, the thing that's getting those diehard resistors vaccinated is when all of their family dies. Well, all of a sudden you have someone, the last person in their family. So all the children died, the husband died, the parents have long since died. You've got the one remaining member of the family on a ventilator. They're unhooking the ventilator just long enough for the one remaining family member to say, I wish we'd all got vaccinated. And they'll be,
well, what about the people that were intubated and come out of it and then still refuse to be vaccinated?
Yeah.
I don't get it. And
your story is ivermectin.
Ivermectin, and I don't
selling out all over the country.
And Steve, the way I'm familiar with ivermectin is not through its abilities with deworming horses and cows and whatnot. It's my dog's heartworm medicine contains ivermectin. And I don't understand why you would think something that deals with worms, like if this were
not viral. It's not an antiviral at all.
If this were a parasite, like a worm that was killing people, and people were taking ivermectin, it would make sense. But I don't understand why you would take something that targets worms and poisons worms and take it for a virus.
For a virus, right. And in order to be in any way effective on the human level, you have to take 100 times the dosage, which will kill you.
Yeah.
Will or severely poison you. You will have compromised your bodily systems for the rest of your life. Also, you don't displease God.
And as someone that has gone through chemo, which is basically poisoning you.
Yeah, you sit there and they poison you.
And you allow them to poison you because you know that there's a chance that you'll come out the other end.
Yes.
And you'll still,
as the poison is, it
and you'll still be alive.
Right.
And as someone that's been through that and been poisoned and felt it, like I remember coming home the first day after my first chemo appointment and just lying on the couch crying, realizing I have just poisoned myself. Yeah. I've done it for a reason.
Yeah.
And obviously it was successful because that was in 2012. But just the feeling of getting worse and worse and worse because your body is friggin' dying.
Yes. Yeah. And the whole goal is that the things that would otherwise kill you will die from the chemo faster than
before you will. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're in a position like that and you're looking at half the country intentionally poisoning themselves.
Intentionally. With no guaranteed outcome. Well, okay, chemo.
All the guaranteed outcomes are negative.
You don't have a guaranteed outcome in chemo either. But my particular kind of cancer was like you had a really I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is like in the 90%.
Right.
Of
it's what people call a good cancer.
It's the best kind of cancer. If you guys are having to make that choice, choose Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Absolutely. But you, all right, okay, yes, and you're told over and over again that chemo is not guaranteed, but the world is full of people who say, I had chemo and here I am. And there is not one single person who said, I took ivermectin, it 100 times the dosage, and I'm living the COVID-free lifestyle.
Well, and the outcome, if you don't have chemo, is death.
Right.
I mean, so you're rolling the dice, but the odds are in your favor, as opposed to this not doing anything.
It would be a little bit more. It would still be weird. Hydroxychloroquine was weird. It would still be weird, but it would be a little bit more interesting if there weren't a free, effective vaccine available everywhere. Now it's like something out of an Orwell novel.
Yeah.
Like out of a science fiction novel, where there's a whole group of people, 100 million people, who it's like if you were told there's 100 million people in the country who, when they get to a 12-story building, just gird themselves and say, oh God, I'm going to hate taking these stairs. There's an elevator right there. and it's like you have 100 million people who get to the Empire State Building and think, well, I would love to go to the observation deck, but we don't have the means to get there. It's just your pharmacy has this thing. Take a shot, and you'll feel crappy for a few hours, and you will be immune.
Imagine reading this in a novel.
I know.
In like 2010.
Completely absurd.
You would have, yeah, you would have laughed.
I wrote
You
that.
would have been like, oh my God, this novel is so hilarious. Look how stupid these characters are.
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have believed it.
No.
I would have panned that novel. In 2010, I would have panned that novel.
Oh, my dog is left without barking. He did a good job.
Yeah, I thought
He's
I heard
out on his walk.
a faint scrabble, but other than that, nothing.
I'm sorry, what about Scrabble?
I thought I heard a faint scrabbling noise.
Yes.
But otherwise, nothing. No hysterical barking.
Nope.
You're gonna get down, baby?
He seems calmer since I've been. When I was in Maine, he seemed a lot calmer.
It was probably the ivermectin. Well, that's what probably did it. But anyway, your story is Ida, Tropical Storm Ida.
Oh no, I haven't heard of this.
Roiling off the coast of Cuba.
Okay.
Almost certainly, judging by the tracks that I've been looking at and the water surface temperatures, it's almost certainly going to strengthen to a hurricane. My own guess would be a Category 2 hurricane, and it's going to strike Louisiana. It's going to strike America. It's going to strike the mainland of America. It's going to do, I would guess, a lot of damage to one end of Cuba and to a whole bunch of the islands around Cuba. But it's in between when it does that damage to Cuba and when it hits the Louisiana-Alabama border, it's going to grow in strength. My own prediction is that it's going to triple in strength. And the hurricane season is nowhere near over. So this is right after the one that turned and came to the Northeast.
Right.
Turned out to be nothing. Henri turned out to be nothing where I am.
Yeah.
So I got on BookTube, of course, and complained, saying, "Oh, this was nothing." And I heard from a whole bunch of people, some of them not very far away, who had deluges of rain.
Well, they were saying Western Mass was going to get it far more than the East Coast.
I have been accused by BookTube watchers of being quintessentially Bostonian in that I don't believe that Western Mass exists. And I strenuously deny it, but sometimes the evidence is really clear. So, well, that's my story. I am keeping an eye on Ida.
Okay.
I want to see if it looks to me like it's going to enter the Gulf, and the Gulf is a breeding ground for doubling the strength of storms. Because it's placid, warm water. It's got everything that a hurricane needs to grow. So I'm worried about the Delta areas there. They are the worst situated for major storm surge. The thing that you'll need to worry about here is the storm surge. Although maybe not. Maybe in 2021, the thing you need to worry about is a whole bunch of people in the direct path of the storm saying, "I don't believe it's real." Maybe that's the case. It used to be that was the province of rabble-rousing, evil radio shock jocks. Famous example being Rush Limbaugh a couple of years ago, before he went to hell, where he was telling for days, he was telling his listeners, millions of listeners, that this storm that's approaching, this hurricane that's approaching, isn't even real. That it's a total fabrication of the weather services, and that you don't need to do a thing. You don't even need to stock up, much less obey evacuation orders. And then one day before it was set to hit, I forget the name of that storm, but people listening will remember. One day before it was set to hit, he packed up and moved. He was living in the direct path of the storm.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Wasn't held accountable for it. Didn't lose any subscribers for it. Just went right back on the air. Gee, I'm really sorry, the 16 people who died. I'm really sorry that I killed you. And, your grieving relatives, I'm hoping that you still listen to my commercials.
It's so infuriating. And I have to say, if they did a scientific study of ivermectin on COVID, and it turned out that ivermectin did help, I'd be like, oh, great, we have another cure. I wouldn't like double down and be like, no. It's just, you have to.
All right. Well, we share that frustration. Let's move on to my books.
Let's move on. My books, which is the fun part.
It's the fun part. It's what we live and breathe anyway. And
Yes.
everybody watching knows that. So
Yes.
they're perfectly willing to listen to the entrees. Although I have to warn you, our viewership has probably just plummeted because Frida has left the camera range. She's
Oh,
come up here. Come
oh, poor little girl.
on. Back up here.
Poor little us, actually. There she is.
So what books are on your radar these days, Mrs. D? What are you reading or rereading?
So
You mentioned the Butcher series, right?
Huh?
The Butcher series.
Yes.
The Dresden
My
Files.
nephew has read them all, loves them. I was the one that initially gave him the first 3, I think, because I read the first 3 and I liked them. And I thought, oh, he's gonna like these. He was a teenager. He loved them, and he continued on with the series, whereas I read the first 4 and then got sidetracked into something else and never. So what I'm doing is, because I have trouble with series because I can't read them as they come out, because I forget everything that happened in the first one by the time the second one came out.
This is why people love it when you come on this channel. And you prove every time that you're the human version of Steve. Because everybody's nodding now, except me. I'm saying, how could you forget anything?
Oh, I'm going to digress just a teeny little bit here and go into movie. I saw on Turner Classic Movies on last Sunday, I think, Witness for the Prosecution. Now, I have seen that movie before, and I have read the book, the play. I think it was a play, Agatha Christie, right? It was a play. So I've both read it and I've seen the movie before. I watched it again. I still was surprised by the ending. I completely forgot how it ended. I knew there was some twist. I knew, and it was great because I was surprised the second time around.
That's got to be a benefit.
It is.
In my own defense, I can say I could watch it a million times, even knowing the twist. I wouldn't care.
Oh, well, yeah.
It was so wonderfully done.
There was so much there. I mean, it was so enjoyable. But so I can't read a series as it's coming out.
So the way you're reading the Dresden Files is the right way then. You're binging them.
So, but I can't binge because I get sick of reading it. And I also see other things I want to read, which is what happened the first time. I read the first 4 right straight in a row. And then I noticed some other book that I wanted to read. So I read that, and that just disrupted everything, and I just lost.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to stick with the Dresden Files?
The deal I made, because my nephew and I are talking about them as I read them, is I read one, read a totally different book, read the next Dresden, read a totally different book. So every other book is a Dresden book. And that is
fast enough to keep things fresh?
That is working beautifully.
Oh, okay, great.
And I'm very much enjoying, this is book 7, I think, that I haven't started it, but it is the next thing that I will read. Yeah, it looks like 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's book 8.
And what about the other books?
So
the ones
the
that
other
aren't
book,
Dresden Files.
The other book that I am currently reading, I've been reading it for a while. You'll remember I told you I was reading it, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly, but I'm reading it, just in little pieces, is Angela Carter, Wise Children. It is so delightful.
Where did you get that copy? The bookstore?
The bookstore. Oh, I found the receipt in it, and I bought it in the bookstore. Oh, where is the receipt now? In like 1990 or something. Like I wasn't even working at Barnes & Noble. I was working at a different bookstore. So I came in as a customer. 1993. I came in as a customer and bought this book and another book. And I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't buy them through the bookstore I was working at and got a discount at. And it looks like Barnes & Noble at that time was giving 10% off anything, like any book you bought.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to be a member. They just gave you 10%.
No, that was our motto for probably 15 years was if you paid full price for it, you didn't get it at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
Everything was
so I saved $1.80 on my purchase, and I got 2 books. And
maybe you came into the store to ogle the hot guy at the information desk. 1993, there would have been a tyrant at the information desk.
Maybe. You were probably the guy that, was rude to me and said, because at one point Barnes and Noble would not special order.
Yeah.
And I came in wanting to special order something and got
1993, that would probably been the old information desk, the one at the front of the store.
I gotta say, I don't remember.
Back, but you wouldn't go to the information desk. So
you didn't have the $1 million staircase.
Oh, okay. Then it was the old information
back
desk
in 1993. You might have been building it around that time.
Yeah, there would have been tarps right in the middle of the gigantic floor.
I remember the tarps because I was working in the Lafayette Place Walden Books, which was right next door, pretty much. It was like just down the street. And I remember coming over and seeing the tarps. So I don't know.
The tarps were a little embarrassing because the workers right behind the tarps all day long seemed to think they were soundproof. So when the 90-year-old, Back Bay matrons would dodder up to my information desk to ask me a question, they would hear words they hadn't heard since World War I. Curses flying back and forth in 3 different languages. And I wasn't about to tell the workers that, so I would just tell them, oh, sorry about that.
Right. Yeah, it was a weird way to do the renovation. Just doing it while the store was open.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess they figured there was no other way to do it. I mean, they were putting a hole right in the middle of the second floor's floor. That
must have been interesting from the workers, from your point of view. Like, having them.
One word for it. I watched those workers when they were putting up that staircase. I saw how drunk they were by 1 p.m. every day. So when the tarping was all done and the floor case, you remember the staircase, it was polished wood.
Oh, the staircase was beautiful, but I never dared use it.
Used to ask me why I never used it. I always wanted to tell them, well, you're free to use it if you want, but I saw how it was built.
I never dared use it because it looked like one misstep and you'd go like, and I remember working when I was working in the remainder section, right under that staircase, how much dirt would come down if people were walking up and down the staircase. It would just rain right down on you underneath the staircase.
Yeah, I never understood the decision to put it in the first place.
Yeah.
I think it was just one of many corporate decisions that were just ended up being money pits. And that accumulated into forcing the store to close.
I do have one more book that I'm reading. So during the summer, I was reading one physical book and one book on my phone, one ebook on my phone from Overdrive. The one I'm currently reading on my phone is The Final Girls Support Group, which is really quite entertaining. I think it's a teen book.
Book clubs.
I think it might be a teen book. I'm not certain, but
I think it is. I think it's categorized that way anyway. Are you enjoying it? You're enjoying it.
I am. I'm really enjoying it. I'm probably about halfway through it. And the final girls, for anyone that is unfamiliar with it, are, how in a horror movie, everybody gets killed off except the one girl who fights back. That's the final girl. And these are girls from the stories that inspired the horror movies. So one girl's backstory is very similar to the movie Halloween. One girl's backstory is very similar to Friday the 13th. And the girls, they're women now, somebody is coming after them. And so at this point, I don't know who or why
it's
or
a
what.
Meta thing. It's a meditation on horror movies.
Yes, and that's what's entertaining. Now, I have seen none of these movies, but I've seen a lot of reviews of these movies, so I'm kind of familiar with the plot.
What was the name of the series of movies where death is haunting everyone?
Couldn't tell you.
It's right on the tip of my tongue. The first movie, it's right on the tip of my tongue, but the first of those movies intentionally sent up the final girl gimmick because death is haunting these teenagers.
You're not thinking of the Scream movies with the ghost face.
No.
That I actually did see. I take that back. I've seen that series.
I can't remember. Is it Final Destination? Final Destination.
Oh, okay.
The first Final Destination movie one by one, these kids and their teachers die until finally it's two of the boys and the one survivor girl. And they're at a cafe outside in the middle of the day. And they think maybe they've outwitted death. And they're quarreling. The boys are quarreling. And the girl stands up from the table and she's yelling at them. And she says, if all you two can do is fight with each other, you could just drop dead. And a bus comes right by. It just totals her. You were expecting her to sort of walk off in a proud girl's moment. Instead, she's just totaled.
Nice.
Final Destination 1 is a very effective movie, especially the bravura scene where the characters are all on a field trip to France. Their French class is going to France, and they all board the plane, and we get to know their different personalities. And the main character watches as the plane takes off, and there's a little more turbulence, and then a lot more turbulence, and then a wing rips off, and whole rows of passengers get pulled out, and the oxygen masks are coming down, and everybody's screaming, and the plane is lurching back and forth. And finally, a fireball erupts from the cabin and just engulfs him and engulfs everyone else. And then he wakes up and he's on the plane and it hasn't taken off yet. And he's sure now that he knows that it is going to explode. And he starts yelling, this plane is going to crash. We're all going to die. And all of his classmates and his teachers and the flight attendants, they all think he's loony. So they put him off the plane. And he's sitting there in the lobby of the airport watching the plane take off, thinking, I was a fool. I just passed up on a free trip to France. And it explodes. Right as he's watching, far in the distance, it explodes. Fantastic scenario.
It's like that's kind of a Twilight Zone kind of moment.
Yeah. The weirdest thing one of the weirdest things I've ever seen on social media, I was on Facebook years ago, and I still had a Facebook account. Somebody posted a picture of their in-flight movie, and it was Final Destination. It was Final Destination which has one of the most realistic plane crash scenes in all of cinema.
Who set that up, I wonder? And what do they do for a living now?
It was just some bored flight attendant saying, I hate these people so much. Why not torture them?
Oh, that's great.
But like you, I have 3 books. I have props.
Okay.
So first, we're going back to 2019. This is something I didn't read at the time. This is called It's called The Story I Am. Mad About the Writing Life by Roger Rosenblatt. It's just a bunch of pieces that he's written, excerpts from books, excerpts from plays. Some of them very short.
Okay.
I don't know this guy's work much at all, but a lot of the pieces that are in here are about books. So I'm gonna revisit it. I'm not revisiting because I've never read it before. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think I've read this guy before, even in other formats. Well, I'll have to see about that. I'll just see if any of this rings a bell. These are all for this afternoon. So this is long. That's going to take me no time at all. And then this next one is also a reread. This came out in French in 2018, and then it was translated, and it won the Prix Goncourt, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I put it on my Steve Reed's year-end list. I think it was one of the highest ranking works in translation. It's And Their Children After Them by Nicholas Mathieu. It came out as an original paperback. You already know, I think all books should come out this way. Just the deckled edges, the French flaps, just bring everything out this way. Just get rid of hardcover.
Yes. That's something, the deckle edges I discovered have a very strong hate group.
Yes,
but I love them.
People are going to sound off in the comments of this video saying,
I love them.
The deckle edges and the French flaps,
yes.
As far as I'm concerned, bring out every new book this way. Save the hardcovers for the collectors and the libraries, but don't bother otherwise. Just bring everything out this way. Can you imagine going to a new bookstore and realizing that $45 would buy you 3 new books? Can you imagine what that would be like? It'd be incredible. I firmly believe that new releases like this would sell more. I believe that the bottom line of profit would actually be greater than bringing it out as a hardcover.
See, I would be willing to buy something like that, not really knowing too much about it, not having read reviews, but just based on the way the book looks and feels.
Well, I got this in the mail in 2019, but it turns out it's a coming of age story, a young boy, and you really end up caring for him. He's a screw up in a lot of ways, but you really want him and his friends to figure out how to live. The adults in the book are no help at all. And I think one of the reasons why I want to revisit it this afternoon is because it takes place, the beginning of it is during a heat wave.
Okay.
And the heat wave is really well described.
Okay.
I read a mystery novel years ago set in Rome during a heat wave. I'll never remember what it was, but it's still the best description of a heat wave that I've ever read. I don't remember. What's a murder mystery series set in Rome? Oh, I don't remember. Well, anyway, the third of my 3 books, of course, is a classic. Move Over, Moby Dick. Say Goodbye, War and Peace. It is, of course, already a classic. It is already, we know already that it is the single greatest book ever written in the history of the world. It's Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Meg.
No, oh no, God, no. Oh, no. Meg is an exciting adventure novel about a giant prehistoric killer shark. This is a go nowhere, do nothing, poorly written novel about 4 bored 20-somethings. So there's no comparison there. Of course. I mean, Sally Rooney's fame is the reason why they renamed the Republic of Ireland. Redid the money, redid the coins, redid the passports. It's now the Republic of Sally Rooney. So you have to genuflect, as a great number of critics did.
Okay. Every single critic. I have not read them. I've not read any of her books.
You poor thing.
What was the last one I?
The last one was about 4 disaffected 20-year-olds goofing around in their life. It was all.
I took it out of the library, but I never actually got to it. So.
Well, or maybe you're thinking of the one before that. The one before that was about 4 disaffected 20-somethings goofing around in life. And
yes, it was that one.
Yeah, there you go.
It was that one.
Yeah. It takes a while because this author bounces all around different styles and gimmicks. You never know what she's going to write next.
Yeah, I can't see rereading the same book over and over again.
I don't think I'll be reading this one more than once. Thanks very much. I don't think I will. This comes out, I think, in early September 7th. I will write a review of it for Open Letters Review, so that at least somewhere out there in the world there is a dissenting voice, because I guarantee you there'll be no dissenting voices. The Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, twice. The Times reviewed her last book twice. They gave it to Andrew Martin during the week, and they gave it to Dwight Garner on the weekend. It was a book so nice, I had to review it twice.
Didn't it have the word people in the title?
Normal People was the name of it.
Normal People, okay. Yeah.
And you come out of it thinking, my God, if these are normal people, then can I slit my wrist now and just make me into Soylent Green? These aren't normal people. These aren't normal people at all. Normal people have jobs. Normal people have things they care about. Normal people are consistent in their personalities from one day to the next.
So what if
normal people don't have really quippy Twitter style things to say about everything at all times? Normal people, in other words, are boring, dull, and winding, like you and me.
I see. You're kind of making me want to read it, though.
God, you probably will. You probably like it.
Thanks. You and I disagree a lot on books.
Well, I should point out for any listeners, if you can hear that yappy dog in the background, if you're new to my channel, you may be hearing it. There's a yappy dog. He sounds off on a lot of videos. He's right next door. And I always want to tell new people, if you can hear him, he's not unhappy. He's just a yappy dog, but he's not over there unhappy. I've mentioned this a few times on videos. I've said, if there were a very unhappy dog right next to me, I would go over and talk to his owners and make sure he's not unhappy, or make sure that he comes to me.
What kind of dog is it? Like,
he's a big tan mutt with one of those ropey flashing tails that goes everywhere, and he is happy. I said that I've offered that assurance on a few videos, and a couple of people who haven't watched my channel for long have left comments or sent me emails saying, "Oh, come on. I mean, we know that your heart's in the right place, but you wouldn't confront an owner about an unhappy dog." So I'm glad I have you here. We might not agree about books, but you can second that I would certainly do that.
You certainly would.
Dogs don't suffer in my immediate environment. You don't have a right to leave a dog unhappy. If you're around me, you don't have a right to.
Right.
But I always want to assure people he is happy. I went over and smooched noses with him and asked him directly, "Are you unhappy?" And he's not.
Whereas I have a dog that, although I adore him and I do everything I can to make him happy, he's just not he's not happy.
Not happy. No.
He's
now, why do you think that is? You
it's his
nothing.
It's his pre-Deb past.
Really?
I think
after all this time.
Yeah. Oh, he's happier now than he has been in the past. Like, he's calmer now. He's more I think he's more trusting now than in the past.
Geez, if he can't be happy with you.
But I think at some point, I don't know, somewhere down the line, something traumatized him. I don't know what it was. But you can see, like, when you look in his eyes, you can just see that. And he comes right after the happiest dog I've ever seen, which was Reese. Reese was the happiest dog ever. And it's not that I've changed the way I handle my dogs or deal with my dogs, or it's just
I mentioned that the other day in a video. I was talking about, what was I talking about? Oh, traveling. I was talking about traveling, and I said, well, if I were going to be gone for overnight or a couple of nights, the only circumstance in which I would leave Frida behind is if she had care the same as mine. In other words, from somebody who doesn't think she's just a toy, doesn't think she's just an alien being, someone who thinks she's a person and is going to be talking to her all the time and checking her needs. And in the video, I said, so basically, I would only leave for a vacation if she were with Deb. And I had a whole bunch of people email me and say, okay, well, I don't know who this Deb person is, but I just learned everything I need to know about what kind of a dog owner she is, and she's the only person that you would trust with your dog. And the reason why, to turn that tribute into a criticism, the reason why they didn't have any idea who you were is because you're not on Manatee Mondays often enough.
Well, you know what? We've got a couple of months at least before I go visit my mom for the holidays. So let's make this a thing. So
you are constantly drawn to the white ethno state of Maine? She was shocked when I booktube. She was shocked when I told her the alt-right, the white supremacist groups in America have their eye on Maine as the place.
I can see why. I mean, I definitely understand why, because I think Maine is the whitest state in the Union.
I always, when I hear that, I mean, Vermont is a pretty white state as well, but there aren't any racists, or almost none. You think that in addition to just the demographic breakdown, you would also have to know that it's a racist place. Is Maine? Maine is
not a liberal state. I mean, Maine is kind of Maine is kind of in the middle. I think it can go either way.
But what about socially? I mean, I've vacationed in Maine.
It depends on.
I can't imagine a Maine shopkeeper being openly racist to a black person.
No, I don't think. For the most part, I don't think anything's open. I mean, there are probably, people tell me that there are people flying Confederate flags in Maine. I've never seen that, but I live in southern Maine, so it's much more like, it's much more urban and suburban. And
it's a different world up north.
Yeah. So I don't know what goes on in northern Maine, or, but I do know it's a very white state.
Well, but you're here for a while.
And also in Maine, the population is generally older than in the other states, like the percentage of, they said one reason Maine has a good vaccination rate, well, one, it's in the Northeast and, we believe in science, but the other one is that it's got a very elderly population compared to the other states.
You're wicked old.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm a spring chicken.
Older than you?
I'm a spring chicken in Maine, let me tell you.
Oh my. Oh my.
No, I'm kidding a little bit about that, but apparently I read that it does have the percentage of elderly is higher than it is in the other
I wonder though, I would think the other thing you mentioned is probably more of a factor, which is that in the Northeast we're mostly sane. We're not crazy. Like I mean, first the Trump administration and then COVID have just shined a spotlight on huge pockets of America that are just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an interview with some intrepid reporter went to a Trump Klan rally. I don't know why any reporter would do that. They're threatened with death every time they go. But he went and he interviewed, he had the boom mic, so it doesn't get anywhere near these people who are teeming with a virus that they could easily get. He went to this woman and said, so you're not going to get vaccinated? And she said, oh, no, I wouldn't get the vaccine. No. And he said, why not? And she said, it's experimental. I want to spend more time on it. And he said, okay, well, it's approved by the FDA. That doesn't matter to you? And she said, oh, no, it don't matter to me. And he said to her, well, how long would it need to be around and in use for you to feel comfortable with it? And she said, without batting an eye, she said, about 10 years. Whereas if Coke came up with a new flavor tomorrow, she would get a liter bottle of it and drink a liter every day. There's no idea. She has no idea what she puts in her body. But this one thing.
I know. We don't know what's in Hot Pockets, but I'm sure she eats them.
Nobody knows what's in Hot Pockets.
Nobody knows.
Frida, cut it out. Oh, poor baby. Oh.
But no, that's really true. I'm sitting here drinking a Pepsi. I have no idea what's in it other than sugar, tons of sugar. Well, not even sugar, corn syrup.
I watch commentaries until I can't anymore, until they just make me so angry that I have to stop. I watch commentaries or interviews like that all the time, and I see people trying to be nice and even-minded, and all I want to say, if I were in charge, it's a lucky thing I'm not in charge, but all I want to say is, if you're saying that you don't trust medical science when it comes to a vaccine that's been approved by the FDA and that's effectiveness is already known, it's not like the FDA approved it and so we're taking a shot in the dark. We already know it works. If you are willing to endanger every single child and elderly person in your community, in your grocery store, in your school or your church, if you're willing to endanger all of those people because you don't trust the science behind this one vaccine, that's fine. You can do that, but you don't get any more medical help of any kind. So I don't want to hear about your grandfather who needs an oxygen tank. Sorry. In the 6th century, they didn't know how to contain oxygen and deliver it through nose tubes. So he doesn't get it. You're on a list and you don't get access to medical care. What's that you say? You've got a cavity that's really bothering you? Well, your dentist can fix it, but don't expect Novocaine. You can have that cavity fixed.
No, you'd have the tooth yanked.
Yeah. You can have the local blacksmith pull it out of your head. But don't expect, if you go to the hospital, you drive a nail through your foot, we're not going to disinfect it for you, and we're also not going to give you any anesthesia. Don't expect any of that. You're on the list of someone who does not trust medicine. So we're not going to give you any medicine. If you're going to endanger everyone around you so cavalierly, that ought to be the price you pay. You are opting out of modern medicine.
Well, they should go down to their basements and not leave.
Yeah, but they don't. They're the ones who are coughing on the food.
They go out and they live their lives. And I feel so bad or so sad for the people that they are infecting.
Yeah, who don't have any, a lot of them don't have any choice. They have to go to work. They have to go to the grocery store. They don't have any choice but to endanger their lives.
Children, the under 12s.
Yeah.
I read a news story online of a woman that just died, a pregnant woman who just died, and the baby died because she was waiting until after her pregnancy to get the vaccine. And so she wasn't against getting the vaccine. She was just leery of what it might do to, or wary, I guess is the word I want, of what it would do to her fetus. But the baby died and then she died. The fetus died and then she died.
Well, aren't Monday's fun?
and I feel bad for those people. I feel bad for everybody. I even feel bad for the people you're talking about, the people that are just like so blind to it, because I just wish there were a way to contain those people.
Yeah, but there isn't.
Who are unwilling.
I feel bad for them because they're hurting other people.
Or unwilling, like, fine, if you don't want the vaccine, then don't go outside, make sure you're masked, do everything you can to keep other people safe. It's not a question of you anymore.
Right, and that is what I'm talking about. That is the spotlight that we might have suspected, that half of the adults in this country, when confronted with "it's not about you anymore," would say, "to hell with that"? We might have suspected that half the country was like that, but now we know. Now we know that it's true. And that's hard. That's really hard. That knowledge is hard, and it's not going away.
Yeah. But no, that is really hard.
Before we sign off, let's talk about something happy for just a minute.
Okay. Do you have something? I have something I could talk about.
Right away, just for a few minutes. That's all.
Let's go back to books. So my plan for September is science fiction / fantasy September. Science fiction September.
Do you know how you're going to start?
September 1st, I'm going to start. I'm going to start with The Lies of Locke Lamore.
I know when the month starts.
No, but...
No wonder I drink. Or don't drink. Oh.
No, but I could be saying Sci-Fi September, I'm going to start on August 28th. Or Sci-Fi September, I'm going to start on September 3rd. No, I'm going to start.
The book you're starting with is The Lies of Locke Lamore.
Yeah, I'm going to start with that.
It's really good.
Because your housemate really loves it.
Oh.
And I've heard good things about it. And I own it. Oh, and also they have to be books I own. They have to be books that are already on my shelf.
You're not a big science fiction fantasy reader, are you? How many books do you have that qualify?
I enjoy them. Yeah, I have enough.
Oh.
I have plenty to fill, especially if I use the term loosely to include things like the Dresden books, where it's more fantasy, it's more, if I will grant you, like, hard science fiction, I have very little of it, but I do have a little bit.
Now, did you, as our last note, because we're going to go on all day here, did you ever watch the TV show of the Dresden Files?
No, I didn't.
No.
Did you?
I did, yeah. I kind of liked it. I actually liked it more than I liked the books.
Oh, good.
The main character, Harry Dresden, it just doesn't do anything for me at all. I think the reader is supposed to lust after him, and I just never felt anything like that.
Yeah, I don't particularly lust after him.
The TV show really found great people for all the supporting cast, and that's fantastic. That they found a blandly handsome WB star to be Harry Dresden, but the supporting cast was all fantastic, and that's why I watched.
Oh, see, that's why I haven't since I've started reading them. That's why I haven't gone and watched the TV series, because I don't want that image of who those people are.
Yeah,
I want to create my own mind of who they are.
That's why I don't like audiobooks, for the same reason, because I don't want that to be how the character sounds to me. I want to determine myself how they sound.
Yeah, so I don't like the ones where they do voices.
But you do like audiobooks. You like them a lot more than I do, I know.
I have trouble with audiobooks because I can't. I have trouble just sitting and listening to them and processing all the information, and I forget names. Like, I'm better with seeing the name in print than just hearing the name.
You never listen to me.
Yeah, I have
so many times.
Apparently I have problems following. Yeah.
I can't count how many times at the kitchen table I lowered my newspaper and said, "Am I just talking to myself here?"
And I said, "Huh?"
So that is Manatee Monday for the end of August.
Yes.
So let's do this again next week.
We can do it multiple times, which you've never heard before.
Not in any of our marriages, no. It might have changed a lot for both me and Ernest Borgnine. I should have pointed out at the beginning for the new people. Yes, Deb and I are old, but we're dirty old people. We're not presentable old people.
Yeah, no, you don't want to take us to your local church gathering.
But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up.
All right.
Because we've gone on for a while now, an hour. We
have. So, it's been months worth of Manatee Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will end this recording and email you right away about the next one.
Excellent. I can't wait.
I know one thing for sure that I'm going to hear from people, which is that they're going to want to see Lucky. So we're going to have to work out how to make that happen.
Well, he needs he needs to be groomed, and I cut the hair on his face so he looks incredibly stupid. He looks ridiculous. So, and he has a grooming appointment mid-September, so after that he'll be beautiful. But I'll do it before. I'll do it before and after.
Okay.
So you can see the change between the shaggy dog no one would take home and the beautiful little lucky bed.
All right, so wave goodbye to BookTube.
Bye, BookTube.
And I'm
Steve
going to
gave me
stop
permission to say
recording.
goodbye.